Hey, hi everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of #AutoTalk. Thank you everybody for joining us. Today's guest is one that I think everyone is going to love, my personal favorite. I'm not just saying that because he's the CEO of Authntk, but Jeremy Steinberg is joining us today.
Hey, John. Good morning. How are you doing?
I am doing great. Thank you for joining us. This is going to be a lot of fun. We are going to talk all things online car buying. But before we jump into that, we need to talk a little bit about Game of Thrones.
Heck yeah, man. Heck yeah. So
season 8 premiered Sunday. Much anticipated, 2 years in the making. What'd you think?
So it was a lot of hype. I didn't miss a moment of it. And I'm obsessed talking about this right now because it is season 8. We get 6 episodes. First episode covered a lot of ground. But there's something that took me so out of the episode, and I've seen too many memes about it. I've seen too many comments about it already. But with that Aladdin moment of a home when Daenerys and John are on the back of the dragons, it was great for about 5 seconds, and it totally pulled me out of that episode. I'm looking at my wife on the couch. I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Especially knowing it was like 10% of that episode and there's only 6, right? So we wasted something on this whole montage. Meanwhile, the Night King's storming. I don't know. I hated the scene. I'm excited to see where they go.
Yeah, I thought it was good. I feel like, whatever they did this episode, was going to be tough after a 2-year layoff. But a lot of reunions, right? Arya reuniting with everybody. Jon and Daenerys in Winterfell. Jon riding a dragon. It was a little cheesy, but also cool. I feel like they need to really sort of ramp it up here over the last 5.
There is so much to get done. And one of my buddies from college started this really pretty cool Game of Thrones pool that has pretty much every character you've seen with like 1 of 4 or 5 outcomes. Hopefully I win this thing. It's like fantasy football gone awry. We'll see how it ends.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's the talk of the world, kind of. It's the pop culture event right now. So
which will be funny when this gets published. People may look at that and go, Jeremy, that dragon riding scene was so important because right? If someone sees this 3 months from now. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, I forgot to give a spoiler at the beginning, so hopefully if you are listening to this and haven't caught up yet, you skipped ahead 2 minutes. So that's fun. So all right, cool. So what I wanted to chat with you about today is sort of and this is a very broad subject. It can go many directions, but just sort of the state of online car buying. I thought that you'd be perfect to talk with about this because, like me, you have bought a car in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
You explored a lot of different avenues for purchasing that car. And you've, I hope you don't mind me saying, you've bought a few different machines in your day. So this is an area that you have some experience. So, super high level, what state of online car buying, where are we? What did you think as a consumer? Also, as somebody in the industry, kind of what are your thoughts?
No, I think it's a great question. And, to your point, my wife and I had our first child last quarter. So literally we had to go from all these 2-door cars that we owned to the family truck car. And it was an amazing experience to go through because I've only ever bought things out of like a want, not out of a need. And here I actually had I needed ended up with a 3-row SUV, which is what everyone needs when they have their first child, I guess. But I as someone who's in the industry, as someone that tries to be up on technology, I kind of went out of my way to try to experience a few different things. Obviously, I filled out online forms. There were in our area in the Mid-Atlantic, I've seen a lot of extra marketing and around Carvana, so I wanted to check that out, as well as I had some loyalty to some other dealers that I'd bought cars from before. So we kind of went all in. We went all in, and, I took my wife along for the ride, and I wanted her to really kind of experience and have this be the first car that she purchased. And it's kind of amazing to me because, we wanted to do more online. I wanted to do more digitally. But for a lot of reasons, we kept seeing a couple of recurrent themes. One, no matter what we filled out on the form, no matter how much information we gave, we still had a lot of sales people from the dealerships contacting us, inviting us to come in to test drive things that were clearly not what we were looking for. I was pretty, lengthy in that. At the same time, I was going to say, let me try this automated experience. And, maybe, about 30, 40 miles from us, they have one of the Carvana distribution centers that have the, what's the vertical stack thing?
The vending machine.
Yeah, the vending machine. Yeah. I'm like, how great would this be if we did the vending machine? But I'll tell you, from selection to you name it, it would have been arduous. We even talked about potentially flying somewhere where they have a vending machine that might have had one of them that we were looking for, but it didn't work out. Come to find out, we ended up, getting an alert. Wasn't from a dealership that we had already filled out a form, but I found it myself. Called the dealership myself, went and, saw it with my wife. And even then we had some, it was pretty clear, we did the paperwork. We were with our newborn. I said, we'll be back in 2 hours if we can do the detail and get it all ready to go. I thought I was pretty clear, did all the paperwork. And when we came back, we still had to wait another hour. So, I'm still learning how to be the best consumer. As we go along, and I'm trying to help, as many dealerships as we can to become the best, create the best experience for their clients. So I wish I had the rock star experience to share. I'm hoping to have it one day. And I've had it in a few other instances with transactions, but didn't hit it out of the park. But my wife is happy with her new SUV.
Well, that's good. And you tried. You wanted to use the Carvana, or do everything online as much as possible.
Yeah.
So Carvana, it's really interesting. It's popular, right? It's trendy. It's a buzzword. I think that there's still sales stats, going back to the last 3 years, or growing over 100% every year. What do you think that's going to have a big impact on brick and mortar dealerships? Do you think, or do you think it's just sort of a new option for folks?
So I think that what we're going to see, and I think what a lot of people agree, is the market's being stratified, right? And I like to talk about buyers almost on a spectrum. And I don't mean to, pass judgment or anything, but, I think there's a subset of people all the way on the extreme example. On my best day, I like to think I'm one of them who's super knowledgeable. I've bought and sold a lot of cars. I'm also a bit of a gearhead. I've done some restorations in my day. And I know when I'm buying a car, I know exactly what I'm looking for. So I've used our tool. I've bought cars remotely without ever touching or physically seeing a car. I've done that numerous times, as well as with motorcycles, because, again, I think I'm on that extreme that really knows what they want, what they're looking for. I want an exact, history. I want the VIN. I want to do all my research on the front end.
Yeah.
And I think something like a Carvana for super knowledgeable, I think definitely works on this spectrum. I think on the opposite end of the spectrum, or people, and I say this with all the love in my heart, people like my mom. My mom, for the last, 10, 15 years, has driven a Lexus RX 300, 330, 350, whatever the next nomenclature is. And she knows every 3 years when her car is off lease, she wants the new RX. And that's what my dad gets her. She never test drives it. And, again, all the way on this side of the spectrum, my mom doesn't know how many cylinders, the transmission. So it's just stuff that she doesn't care about, right? So I think the super, super knowledgeable and the super, super indifferent, I think something like Carvana, could be something, or that style of transaction where it's quick, it's easy, it can get delivered to your house. I think it fits here.
Yep.
Now, I do believe this midsection. I help people buy cars, as you know. I love talking about cars. I love going on lots. I love talking to salespeople, you name it. I do think that midsection, I think it's fascinating that you know, whether or not they are actually all in, but like, I think I'm shocked when people don't test drive
Yep.
or don't cross shop or don't want to have an experience. You know, I think for the majority, and I'm talking 90% of the car buyers out there, I think that they will always want to touch before they buy. I think they want to, you know, have a conversation. Now, that may have waned for a bit because of a bad experience at a dealership or even in the industry at an earlier date. But I think where we are today, it's up to us, everyone in this industry, to create those experiences, to do a few things. One, get them on the lot, right? Get them on the lot and engage them when they're there. And then two, find strategic ways to bring them back, right? So if there's more foot traffic, if there's more ups, we all know that, you know, not only are we going to have happier sales teams, but at the end of the day, we're going to sell more cars. And that's what we're here to do. So
yeah, I think I think we're in agreement on that. You know, I think people like us are always super intrigued by the Carvana experience. You know, kind of being in the tech world and auto, it is an awesome sort of combination. You know, we're intrigued by the Elon Musk, you know, online only. No, I'm retracting that. No, it is online. You know, we're so interested in that. But there is, to your point, the majority of people are still going to go to the lot and make their purchase, you know, from a salesman. So I think the focus then shifts to how do we improve that, right? Because consumers are doing 60% of their car shopping. They're doing it beforehand, online, researching. So I think it comes down to how to, you know, and this is what we try to do every day, is how do we help, you know, car dealerships improve that customer experience, while also giving folks a better online experience, you know, while they're doing their research and due diligence.
And it's funny as I really think through that mom example, right? So, you know, she's buying the next RX is my assumption, but what a great opportunity for a competing brand to intercept that, right? So how do you target the loyal, and again, I'm not picking on Lexus, amazing machine, you know, great company. But what a great opportunity, because my mom's never driven the comparable, you know, X3, right? My mom's never driven the comparable Infiniti, you know, you name it. So yeah, it's going to be fascinating, where they pan out. You know, what I would love candidly is to have that Carvana experience on my service, right? Pick it up, drop it off for me. I'd be willing to pay a little bit of a premium. My dealership doesn't offer that, although some in the area do. But yeah, it'd be interesting.
Cool. So kind of knowing all this, you know, what would you say for car dealerships and salesmen who are looking to pivot and adopt? Right. So, you know, for the folks who aren't buying on Carvana, the millennials, you know, are starting to buy cars now. You know, so we know that people need to sell to them differently. So, you know, what would be your sort of recommendation?
No, listen, I've carried a bag for, you know, almost 2 decades, and meaning that like I've had selling responsibility at Authntk and long before in numerous organizations, both startups and, you know, Fortune 500. I say that, you know, specifically because there'll always be a technology element in sales, right? The emergence of CRMs, the emergence of, you know, better marketing and technology. I've seen so many people always run to that technology. And as the CEO of Authntk, obviously I'm the first one to say, hey, technology is great, you should use it. But technology in and of itself, I don't think is the answer. I do think this concept of, you know, creating the experience for, you know, either at the dealership or even at the salesman level, you know, that's the only way to differentiate, right? I'm super, you know, my wife and I love following different trends, different shopping experiences, you know, you know, we talk about a couple companies that I think are doing it really right out of the automotive space. And, you know, we always talk about like a Bass Pro Shop, right? It's such a destination when you're there. They create such an experience. It's kind of amazing. I always try to internalize that of how can we do that both at Authntk, but how do we help our clients do that, right? And sometimes it's technology, and sometimes it's a handwritten thank you note, right? I think, you know, I was sharing with you the other day, we took the new car for servicing not that long ago to the dealership that we bought it. And we saw the sales guy, we saw everything. Not only did he not acknowledge us, but it was almost like he sort of remembered us, but steered away. Right. And, you know, again, I know I wasn't his next up. He knew we weren't there to buy, but I always think of like, what a missed opportunity to build a relationship and just be transparent. Hey, you look familiar. Did I work with you a few months ago?
Right.
You know, I think our sales guy was pretty busy. And, no shame on that. But at the same point, like, what a great opportunity to have built a real or an authentic relationship.
Yep.
Because again, I'm in my 40s now, so I don't even know what's cool, but I do know, whether it's the millennials, the Gen X, whatever you want to name the next generation, they're going to look for that authentic relationship. They're going to look for some type of genuine connection, because for the most part, everything that a lot of them know is, based off of some sort of app, a tweet, a Facebook message, you name it. So.
Right. Yeah. And quickly, we were, you're a lecturer or a professor at University of Maryland, Baltimore County.
Yeah.
And I had the opportunity to guest speak a couple of weeks ago, and I asked them, how many unread emails do you guys have? Right. They're all millennials or Gen X. And the answer was thousands and thousands and thousands. So the old way of selling cars is not going to work for these folks. You're not going to get through their inboxes. So definitely a pivot coming, right?
It's, so again, teach at University of Maryland, and, I get emails, but for every email I get from a student, I probably get 20 text messages.
Right.
And the challenge with that, and I have to remind them, I don't go ahead and put everyone's phone book in there, so I don't even know who's texting me.
Right.
So it's always interesting when you get like, hey, I'm running late to class, and I just respond like, who are you?
Yeah.
We figure it out.
Yeah. Well, this has been, I feel like we could talk about this for another, hour.
Oh.
So maybe we'll do another one down the road. Once Elon Musk finally decides what he's going to do with selling Teslas online. But just to wrap up, look into your crystal ball. You've been in sales for a long time. You have a lot of experience. Now you have your hand in auto. 5 years, 10 years, what's the car buying and selling process look like?
Yeah, so I am that guy that says people are still going to want to buy cars. I understand the fractional model. I understand the on-demand model in Uber. I think one of the things of being in the Mid-Atlantic or in the United States in general, the more I travel overseas, it becomes really apparent that we want our own space, right? Like we want our cars to represent us. We want our car environment to represent us. I can get in any of the cars we own, and I always know I have a bottle or two of water, and I always know I have almonds because I eat them incessantly. So first and foremost, I do believe there's going to be a car buying population, right? So that conversation's easy. What's the future look like? I truly think it's this hybrid, and by this hybrid, I think some stuff should be done online, right? I think if you're cross shopping and things like fuel economy or, 0 to 60 times, things like that, there's no better way to find that than jumping online and either your dealership or a third party providing those tools. So I think a lot of that's done, right? But when you come, what do you go to the dealership for? You go to the dealership to touch, you go to the dealership to feel, you go to the dealership to test drive. I have yet to see anyone go to the dealership to ask their salesperson what's the horsepower or the 0 to 60 time. So in the future state for me, I really see the dealership being that more experiential, right? It is interesting to me when you go to a dealership and when you're in the showroom and all the cars are locked, right? I don't, whether it's low end, high end, mid end, anything. Again, I think dealerships should be that destination to experience. Same on the test drive fleet. I mean, it is fascinating to me how few dealerships are doing some extended demos. I was talking with someone the other day that couldn't get an extended demo, but literally jumped on Turo, found a similar spec, and is actually going to get it for a weekend because it's worth spending a couple $100s for that experience.
Right.
It would be fascinating to see if some cutting edge dealers, do something like that. And then, hey, why wouldn't they? For a couple $100, you get to have the weekend experience. If you choose to buy it, we apply that fund directly to the car.
Right.
So I think there's this interesting opportunity for some dealerships to emerge, to set themselves out. Part of me wishes I was in that in the industry at that level to do that. I'm not, but as you know, we get to consult, we get to talk with some business owners, and we know what's being planned in different areas of the country. I just love that people look to us sometimes for a tip, for a hint, or even to talk some future state strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool. Well, thank you, Jeremy, for joining us today on #AutoTalk. This has been a pleasure, and we'll definitely have to do this again because it changes so quickly, and there's always new information coming out. So
awesome.
We'll revisit this in a couple months.
All right, man. Really look forward to it.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Thanks. Bye.